All right, I'll jump on here a little bit earlier than I had planned. Everything went smoothly. So I usually like to give me a little bit of time just in case something doesn't go as planned. But welcome everyone. I'm sure people will trickle in and out. So for those of you who are watching this right now or are coming back to it, hello. Hope you're doing well on this Sunday. Hi, Wagon Loads. How are you? Gonna pull up my chat here. All right. Glad to hear that. Glad to hear that. What are you up to on this Sunday? It's a little warm out here where I am outside of LA, Los Angeles. So, but other than that, it's a fantastic day for doing a little bit of work with electronics. And for me, I'm gonna be working with a couple of ESP32s, some communication between them, figuring that out for a video for the channel. And yeah, just curious what other people are up to, but no pressure. If it's a secret or you don't feel like sharing. Let's see. Gonna set up my workbench. Put it on screen. And I'll zoom out a little bit so you can see that I changed this. All right. So yeah. Hi Dinesh, I'm doing great. How about yourself? I'm ready to work, getting ready to work on some electronics and chat with some of you who are coming in and out of the stream. So that's my plan for my Sunday afternoon out here in the west coast of the United States. Let's see, Wagon Loads, you're watching a build for a 3D printer. Which one? And yeah, not an expert, and I'm glad that you decided to put that aside for a little bit and join the stream. So thanks for stopping by, and I'm glad that notifications work. A couple of people were asking me on the last stream, hey, how do we find out when you're gonna come online? And I've just got started, right? Like, this is my second week live streaming, so still figuring some things out. I invited people to join. Well, first I had to make a Discord server, to be able to chat with people and keep, in touch as to the projects they're working on, the projects I'm working on, and then to do announcements. So I invited people to the Discord server, and then I said I'll get better about posting it on social media. So I just posted a tweet as well, if you use Twitter. But I'm glad the notifications, that should be the first thing, right? Like YouTube just notifying you, particularly if you're on the site, that a live stream is going on. Hey, Anthony. From the Netherlands. Nice, man. Glad you can join us. Have a good friend. I don't know about a good friend, but another maker. Oh, I think he's also in the Netherlands and goes by the name of Dustin Watt. And maybe if he jumps on stream, I'll double check that that's the case, but I'm pretty sure he's out in the Netherlands. I'm glad that you're doing great, Dinesh. But yeah, should be fun. And I don't know how clear it is. It looks a little blurry on my end. I'm checking on the stream. It's not too bad. So my idea for today, and I've done this with a ESP8266, so I'll be copying over some code, and if you've seen some of my videos, you know that I've done similar things in the past. But I'm just gonna connect this is a BME 680, which is it's a great sensor actually. Temperature, humidity, barometric pressure, and actually some VOC content as well. Some gas, you can measure gases concentration in the air. So I'm gonna connect that to one ESP32, and then use the work that I did for the ESP8266, even though these are ESP32s, right? But for the ESP8266, I did a client server thing, and I'm gonna reuse that for the ESP32, and I'm going to improve it because for the ESP8266, I only had a client and a server. So, even though the communication can go both ways, I just wanted to make it super simple, and it was from the client sending data to the server, and I left it at that. So now I'm gonna take that and make it a little more involved, and yeah, maybe actually, now that I think about it, because I then want to do another one where I have like 3 boards, and on one of them have a display. So I don't know. Anyway, at least there will be some communication between 2 ESP32s, and then on the other one I'll have another ESP32 connected to one of those I2C OLED screens. This guy, let's see, typical one that I'll use to display some, measurements from the sensor. So the communication will be between the sensor, the board connected to a sensor, over to the other ESP32 that's connected to an OLED screen, and I'll do it over Wi-Fi using WebSockets. So that should be good. And the reason I retracted doing the 2-way communication was, one board is just gonna be connected to a sensor. So yeah, I can do something like maybe if the temperature is above a certain level. The thing is that it's connected already to a sensor, so I don't have a good reason to send data back to that board. But for the next project, for sure, because I already had thought about it for the next one. But we'll see. Hi, NN, or I don't know how to pronounce that username, but hope you're doing great. Alrighty. So, I'll be switching back and forth between just my programming screen and the workbench, and connecting a few things on the electronic side, and then writing a little bit of code. And yeah, so feel free to ask any questions if you have them. Let's see. How about ESP now? Man, honestly, that needs to be... So I already have the next 2 videos, maybe 3 planned out, but I'm getting to them quicker, right, than I was before. I'm doing almost 2 videos every week, so I should be able to get it soon. But it seems that every stream I hop on, I get a request for an ESP Now video. That and the, not doing stuff with Arduino seems to be in very high demand. So I make a promise here today, Sunday, May 10th, May 9th, May 10th, that, after the next 3 videos that I already have planned out, I will make one for ESP Now. Hey, yeah, I'm glad that's the case, Anthony. I'm pretty excited to work on it, and yeah, should be fun. And not necessarily, this one is a bit of a stepping stone to the next project that I really want to have 3 boards and really show how easy, with quotes, it is to communicate between various boards using WebSockets. So yeah, they're pretty fantastic. Just sending data over Wi-Fi used to be such a pain, and now with WebSockets, it's you don't have to worry about how to do things two ways. Everybody listens to the messages, everybody receives all of the messages, and you can just parse them in various ways. But if that doesn't make a whole lot of sense, hopefully when I actually make a video and edit it and condense it, it will. And for today, the plan is just to get the things working. So it'll be unstructured. I'll talk to you on the chat and, you know, to the camera. And once I figure everything out, you know, tomorrow at some point, I'll start shooting everything and rewrite the code in a nice, well, hopefully nice way so that I can show it on video and it's not a waste of your time. So today, very leisurely, we'll get it working. And then, yeah, tomorrow will be the serious deal. I probably won't stream it, so I'm just focused on making the video, and then I'll release it. Once I release the video, I'll go back to, you know, doing my what are now regular streams. So that is the plan. And then wagon loads. You have an ESP3266 connected to your website using JSON, and you had some trouble. So what kind of sensor? Hey, Paulo, how are you? Regular visitor of the live streams. I'm glad that the plan sounds reasonable. It's glad to get some validation for my own sanity. But for wagon loads, so you're every fifth, you know, 1 out of 5 cycles is when you get valid data. I take it you're reading the data from a sensor, and, you know, 4 of those reads are just garbage, and then on the 5th one you actually get data. So if you're connected to a sensor, right, it could be 2 things. It could be that when you're just getting the data from the sensor, that's when it's getting corrupted. It could be a refresh rate of the sensor itself. That, you know, some of these sensors, like the PIR motion sensor, one of the most basic ones we use, has a very long reset time. You can only read the pin reliably like every 3 seconds, and you have to mess around with a little two potentiometers. And I can show it on screen just to, you know. I know I have a bit of an accent, so if that wasn't clear. And B, for, you know, some people will not know necessarily what a PII sensor is. So yeah, when you use these guys, right, they take a long time to reset. So if you're reading data in a loop, you do need to put a delay or do something else while you take another reading. But so anyway, it could be how fast you're reading the data from the sensor itself, or it could be something that you're getting good data every cycle, but something that you're doing to push it to the site, to your website, is what's messing things up. So, you know, hopefully that points you in the right direction. But, you know, if you have something more specific that, you know, oh no, you know, this is where it's getting messed up, then let me know. So the ESP3266 is reading a MySQL, or I guess MySQL database. And yeah, I think I'm a little confused as to like exactly what's going on. So you're reading from the database, and you're only able to read from that database successfully 1 out of 5 cycles. All right. And obviously, in the meantime, I'll do stuff on screen. But happy as usual. The point of the streams is chatting with all of you, and you know, trying to multitask, which is always fun. All right, let's see, I get more details. So you're reading your database if it has a 1 or a 0 in a field, and when you read it back, 4 reads are 0 and the 5th read is real data. what's putting the data in the database. So that's the thing, it's you're trying to figure out which is the head and which is the rear end of something. The data can be corrupted either when you're reading or when you're writing. Could be whatever put the data in there. Then that's when it's getting corrupted for whatever reason. And I explained how refresh rates of sensors could do that. Or it could be something about your read that something's acting up. And then Anthony, you heard about MQTT. MQTT is great, and something I haven't done very much. It is great for its purpose, right? It's a super lightweight protocol. So when you're dealing with real world applications and you worry about conserving battery, you don't want to use messier protocols. Like we're talking about using things like JSON and HTTP, which are higher level protocol, and it's more packets being sent. So if you just want something that is super lightweight and it can at least carry some amount of your data, right? If you're just reading from a temperature sensor or one of those soil moisture sensors, it's just a few numbers every hour. Then you want to do it over a year, right? We're talking about long periods of time without wasting battery. Then you want that data to be as concise as possible. And other protocols for communication, like for example, HTTP, have a huge overhead, right? You get the data inside of a tremendous amount of packets. So that's one of the main advantages of MQTT. The setup is a little messy, right? It's not as straightforward as working with HTTP, but yeah, it has its applications, and I should do a video sometime soon. It used to be, super popular a few years back when there was a drought out here in California, right? Everybody wanted to build their own water sensing solution, and at that time, it coincided with the peak of people talking about MQTT. But and I can see if it's my own bias or reality, right? If you do a Google trend search. But anyway, I don't want to derail too much. Yes, it's high on my to-do list, not super high, but I do need to make an MQTT video, and that'll give you an excuse, if nothing else, to use as a sensor, or not as a sensor, as a client, and ESP3266, blah blah blah, and then run the server side of the MQTT on a Raspberry Pi. Because the simplest way, right, it's using something that runs an operating system to run an MQTT server, and you can do your own. So I can combine a Raspberry Pi with one of the simpler Wi-Fi microcontrollers, SoCs. So that should be a fun project. And yes, LoRa is also up there, probably higher than MQTT. And I was doing a video on LoRa, a very silly, simple video. I wanted to take an ESP3266 board, an ESP8266 Pro, using the Wemos family of boards. And the difference between a Pro and a regular one is that it just has a ceramic antenna. And then a LoRa board, right? Just to do 3 for the sake of not making a super long, boring video. And I just wanted to go out to an open field and then have a Raspberry Pi, whatever, just a receiver, and communicating with the 3 boards, and then take one board at a time and then start walking and just measure the range empirically. Take a little GPS handheld unit to measure distance between the 2 points. Something very, very rough, but to give people an idea on what are the advantages of LoRa, which the main one is wireless communication over longer ranges. So yes, I started doing that, and then stuff happened, and I wasn't able to go outside for a little while. But I will resume that endeavor pretty soon. So it'll be super simple, and then when you see that video, if you want to see, oh, how about this other application, blah blah blah. But at least there will be some basic knowledge on how to program a LoRa board, what the advantages are, and a small comparison between all the regular Wi-Fi stuff we've been doing. So yeah, great suggestion. And then I was gonna search Google Trend for MQTT. No, I don't want to do it in real time necessarily. Let's see. Really? Man, I haven't used this in a while. And then globally. Nope, I'm full of it. It's been coming up, but yeah, I feel maybe here about 4 years ago that I guess that's also at the start of this cheap Wi-Fi microcontrollers, SoCs, started appearing. So yeah, might be correlation and not causation, because it's up and coming. It seems it plateaued a little bit over the past couple of years, but yeah, people are talking about it. So yes, on my to-do list, probably a little below doing stuff with LoRa, but yeah. Yeah, I think my dear friend Wagon Loads, I see just Google Chat. I have it on the screen. Not Google Chat, but our chat for the live stream blocking your messages. So I think you're gonna have to email it to me, and I'll look at it later, not to lose too much focus on the purpose of the stream. But I'd be happy to have a look when I get a chance. But email, as always, works great. And then since I have a few of you around, I will look up our Discord server, which is also great for when I'm not streaming. It's a great way of chatting about projects and such. And I never remember the link as some of you know, so I always need to do this silly thing, and I will paste it on the chat. All right, cool. So yeah, Anthony, that was a long-winded way of saying that MQTT, and same for you, and then that MQTT and LoRa should be things that they should have already been covered in. I think I have up to 89 videos right now, so they should have been covered already. I did one on MQTT, none on the LoRa stuff. So yeah, and if I see messages coming straight at me about it, then that's even more motivation to come up with the content. No worries, you're welcome. All right, I had a bunch of stuff here. I was, my last live stream, I was working on some machine learning stuff, very, very basic for another project that wasn't gonna be posted on the channel, and I told myself, no, just do something, even if it's really quick, not a comprehensive video. Just do something and post it on the channel, because I think it's been like five days. I'm trying to keep an average of 2 a week, a little less than 2 a week. So yeah, don't want to fall too far behind. So I'm jumping ship, and tabling the machine learning for tomorrow after I'm done doing the filming for this video. And yeah, I'll probably jump back on stream with the machine learning stuff tomorrow or the day after. So when do I expect mesh networks to become an everyday reality? I think, it's we almost don't think about it. We almost don't notice it, right? And it's not a proper mesh in the sense that a proper mesh should be thought about, where it's completely decentralized. But if you go to a school campus or anywhere where there's large amount of space, it's almost seamlessly that Wi-Fi is available everywhere, right? And now some cities are even implementing that, and that's a mesh network, right? The ability to go to a city and walk around, and probably not throughout the city, right? But small neighborhoods, be able to walk around, and your phone is just jumping from one place to another, but all of that is just seamless to us. So it's here already, but not in a decentralized fashion, right? Where sort of, when I think of meshes, and I think that's the holy grail of implementing a mesh network, is doing it in a peer-to-peer fashion, right? That there's not a single gateway where eventually all the traffic needs to tunnel through. And for that, I don't know. I think, internet service providers, at least in the US, they're a monopoly for the most part. So the infrastructure is not going to change anytime soon. Now with whatever the FCC, I don't want to get political, right? But some of the net neutrality things are jeopardizing things becoming more decentralized. Whether that's a good thing or not a good thing, we're not going to discuss that. But yeah, that might be a bit of an obstacle in getting to, proper mesh networks. But yeah, I don't know if that answers the question, but that's a bit of my take on it. So Ingus, how are you? You have an application where you have 25 ESPs, and then they need to talk between each. There's no right answer. MQTT, the main advantage is that it's lightweight, and that has some limitations, but for most applications that you're using an ESP3266, you're probably not transmitting images or anything that is super heavy, so MQTT is appropriate. But and if you're concerned with things, the main advantage of MQTT is that it makes for consuming less power. So if you're worried about having really long battery life, then you should definitely consider MQTT, right? That's one of the main advantages. But so for a lot of traffic, MQTT, right? You have to chop, if it's large chunks of data at a time, you need to chop up the data and transmit some bytes in one message and then rest of the bytes in another. So but that can all be handled again with libraries, take care of that for you behind the scenes. So it's not like, but it does have some limitations to consider. And if you can get away with power, just everything that's been made available for HTTP, then if you can afford that, that should make for the absolute simplest implementation. So that's my opinion. And there are two things, right? It's how you transmit the data and how the different boards communicate between them. So there's nothing bad about HTTP, right? But it does make communicating between boards different than a mesh, for example, a mesh network. But what I'm hoping to show today and in the next video is actually using HTTP and sending data between multiple boards, right? You put up a WebSocket, everybody listens to it, and depending on whether you're supposed to perform an action, or you can, depending on what you want each board to do, you can specify that in the message itself quite easily. But as always, what I recommend is start with the simplest, proof of concept. And in that regard, yeah, you going with HTTP and just a regular, everybody's connected to a router, to a wireless router, and take it from there, right? Or to a couple of routers. Like, you can do the net, because there is networking and then there is data transmission, right? So you can take care of the networking with devices that are, I don't know, already made available. They're not quite a mesh network, right? But I'm gonna pull it up on screen. So you can take care of the networking with let's see, with actual devices that are made by somebody else, and then you just have your ESP3266 connect to that very, very reliable network and do the communication over HTTP or use MQTT, right? So you don't need to solve the entire problem. But I'm just gonna go on my Amazon, sign in. I was just looking at this the other day, right? And it's become so much cheaper and easy to do fun things with networking at a, not even at a prosumer, but as a just regular consumer. Save a bunch of stuff. So yeah, so something like this, right? Like, this gives you 5,000 square feet of coverage, and it's just 2 stations. You don't have to worry about making your own mesh network so that your ESP3266 connects to the other. No, you just have Wi-Fi available over 5,000 square feet, and the more satellites you buy, then the better. And then you just need to solve part of that problem. So different options. So, painless mesh library. All right, so I have many to do things, and that'll be probably the theme of the stream. And among those things are, we've talked about LoRa. I haven't done very much with LoRa. I've done a little bit of MQTT, just exploring these different things for communication protocols or networking arrangements. And like you, JSOOK, are talking about the painless mesh library. I haven't used it. I haven't used any, if you look down my videos, I haven't done any mesh networking, at least for the channel, and it's something that I should do. So I haven't used the painless mesh library. Is that one of the most popular ones by chance? Because yeah. And yeah, Omega Killer, how you doing? You always ping me on ESP now. If you scroll up on the chat, you'll see that somebody was also making that request not too long ago. So yes, I promise on this stream that after I'm done with the next 3 videos, I will work on an ESP Now video. I've made that commitment, so I'll repeat it again just for you. Hey, Sion, how are you? Good, I guess, yeah. Good morning. It's 13:21 out here in the west coast of the United States. Nice and warm. So yeah, hope you're having a wonderful Monday morning. Dang. So time in Australia. Is it Monday? Yep. Dang. All right. So you have yourself a great start of the week. Let's see. So Dinesh, you're asking me how you can use data from any website and use it in a ESP project without API keys. Can the ESP32 applications be used in factories, industries? Is it safe? So, a couple of questions here. First one, I think what you're asking me is, can you do web scraping, right? It's a term for just getting data from websites. You can, however, you're pretty limited, right, as to what you can do, and I'll tell you why. You can pull the data, that's not a problem, but even small websites, if you pull a bunch of text, you're gonna run out of RAM. This is the first thing that's gonna go on your ESP8266 or ESP32. They don't have a whole lot of RAM, and if you're pulling chunks of data, even if it's just text, you gotta store it somewhere temporarily to then, if you want to parse for whatever, if you're tracking oil prices and you want to use whatever, the Google ticker website, then you need to store that data and then parse it and say, oh, this is the little piece of information that I want, or Amazon prices for a product. Then you need the entire web page, or you need to store just large amounts of data somewhere, and that usually goes in RAM, and that's something that my little microcontrollers are incapable of doing. Even working with APIs, like I found sometimes, like if you get a chunk of JSON data, the poor ESP8266s will go like can handle that amount. So you could move up slightly in the scale of things and use something like a Raspberry Pi, and then you have an operating system, you have a ton of RAM. You can even use one of the tiny ones that are cheap, the Raspberry Pi Zeros, and then you can do, there's a wonderful Python library called Beautiful Soup that is exactly made for web scraping. So you can, yes, you're gonna run into a lot of trouble based on my experience. Maybe you're a much better programmer than I am and can think about how to handle things a little differently. I've had, not great results with doing that. And then the next question, without API keys, that doesn't depend on you. That depends on the website itself. Because you're using something like an ESP32, right? If you're using an operating system, something like a Raspberry Pi, then you can, I can't remember the name of starts with an SY or something like that, where you can open up a browser. You can programmatically open up a browser, browse the website, and get around that using an API key or an authentication protocol. But that's a little bit more involved, and you definitely need an operating system. So not with the ESP32 unless the website allows you not to use API keys. Again, because you're limited by memory, particularly RAM. And then, is the ESP32 safe? Yes, it is. The thing is, if something, if you work with something from a, I don't want to say reputable, but a company like Microchip, right? Or formerly Atmel, and these well-known companies, if you work with their chips, you can go to their engineers and pay some amount of money and get support and know exactly what's going on. With things that are manufactured overseas, navigating that landscape is complicated. So yes, they'll work and they'll be reliable, but as soon as something goes wrong, you're on your own. You're on forums and hoping that you get a reply from them. And Sprezif, the company behind the ESP8266, they're doing things a little bit differently. They're more to what I'm used to seeing here on the Western side of the world. But even then, man, it would be a little bit tough. However, if you open some of, this really, really cheap Android tablets, they have ESP8266 chips on them, and they're a commercial product, and I don't know how reliable they are. I don't think they're very reliable, but they do sell at places like big department stores like Walmart out here in the US. So yes, you can, but I've given you a few concerns that I would have. Not too bad, Sion. I'm doing great out here and enjoying my Sunday. Decided to go for hanging out online with kind folks on the channel. So yeah, it's so far so good. It's going great, and hopefully I'll get to do a little bit of programming, so can't complain. Gonna be working on a couple. I need to get me a couple of year boards to play around with them. I don't know why I haven't done so. I'm just lazy. I can show it on screen and just keep using whatever I've been using, which are either the Wemos form factor ones for the ESP32 and just the typical Node MCU looking ones for also the ESP32. But need to get me a couple of tiny Picos and include them in the rotation. Let's see, Anthony, you're working on a project with an ESP3266 and an Arduino Mega to measure temperature and weather. Okay, cool. That's funnily enough, that's how I got started with all this mess. In 2013, we launched a Kickstarter, me and a couple of friends. This is before ESP3266, before connecting things to Wi-Fi was super easy. And yeah, it was just a very simple board that was a weather station, you know, using Arduino, and it was kind of hackable. You can add different sensors. So yes, it's an application that's dear to my heart. Nowadays, you can buy, you know, for 20 bucks. I don't know if you probably a lot of you are familiar with the Sonoff family of products. So yeah, you can get a I think it's like $20 weather station that has, you know, an 80 Mega 328, not the 2560 on the Mega, but the 328 on the Arduino Uno, and that's connected. That's used for talking to the sensors, and then the ESP3266 on the you know, it's a custom PCB. The ESP8266 does all the Wi-Fi, and you can have a little app to look at your data. And I started like hacking it because I wanted to improve the sensors, and I did one very simple video, and I need to get back to this. So yes, you'll see more weather station related videos pretty soon. Flex my switch, how are you doing? Let me see. You have an ESP8266 and a temperature and humidity sensor, and it's sending data to a web page. Is it easy to get MQTT integration? Yes, it's easy, relatively. Again, you know, over the next, let's call it 2 to 3 weeks, I'll make a video to hopefully make that integration a little bit simpler. But yeah, I mean, as I always say, you don't have to use MQTT or anything else just for the sake of it. I mean, if you want to explore that concept, great. If you feel like you have to use it, then yeah, I don't know if I would be a big fan of that. But yeah, it's not terribly complicated. You do need both a server and a client, right? If you only have the ESP8266, if you wanted, what are you going to use MQTT for? Are you going to communicate with another ESP8266? Yeah, so you do need a few components in the mix for using MQTT, and that's why, if you want to learn and just use it, then don't let me stop you. I mean, don't let me stop you no matter what. But if you're just considering various things, you could very a lot more easily, if that's the right expression, you can use HTTP, boring HTTP for sending data back and forth. For Home Assistant integration, okay, is on the Home Assistant, does it run unless you're doing your own, is it a DIY Home Assistant? Because I don't know, like the services and the devices that are already made, I don't know if they're use the same protocols we use with our boards. And for you Waggle nodes, anyone makes breadboards with, man, I don't know anyone who makes breadboards like at all. And it's kind of funny, I found this wonderful maker that I follow on Twitter, and it's the first time I've seen a freaking black breadboard. Hopefully, if I look, not this ones, but ones that were like super cool. Yeah, this one, that are apparently only available in the UK. And man, I wanted to buy one so badly, but it would be between the shipping and the cost like a $20 breadboard, so I left it at that. So yeah, sorry, I don't know anyone who makes breadboards, let alone with a different specification for the little sockets. So Dinesh, as long, man, I'm happy to be here and chat about pretty much anything. Obviously, at some point I should post some sort of rules, but you guys have been great, and it's never been a problem. But yeah, as long as it's not like politics, religion, and other stuff that is really off topic, I'm happy to chat about anything from food. If you get me started on soccer, then I will be the one going completely off topic. But anyway, so this is very much related. So this might be outside context. Can you give guidance about going ahead, having a career in IoT and data analysis? Is it worth it, and how to start? I'll think about it. Give me like a couple minutes to go over my thoughts. And yeah. But in the meantime, I gotta ask you, why do you want to go in that specific career, right? Like if you're questioning worth, right? What's your motivation? If you want to make a lot of money, be a financial analyst, right? If you don't care necessarily about what you do and you want to make a lot of money, then yeah. So I want to understand what you mean by worth. What's worth to you? For me, I wanted to always do something that I love and was passionate about. And yeah, that sounds great in theory, but it's pretty freaking hard to do in practice. And yeah, and I can give a little bit more of my story later. I don't want to bug you guys down, but anyway, that just finding that worth for people, what they find worth it, it's kind of tricky. Sorry, Jaysuk, I didn't get to read your message. But yeah. How about you, Omega Killer? You've done some Home Assistant stuff. Nice. It's better to use MQTT using AWS IoT Core, which is paid, right? That's a paid service. The IoT Core. I'm just curious because I do need to, for a different reason, right? You guys are gonna hear me say, yeah, I need to do a project on this. And it's true, right? Because I get requests, because I help other people here locally, and for example, with the AWS IoT stuff, I'm working with a friend and who's been great for my business, and I want to help him out with some AWS IoT stuff. Hopefully, when I help him, I teach myself how it all works, and I'll make a video for all of you. So everybody wins. Okay. That's good to know. So maybe when I make that video, that'll be a great excuse for doubling up showing how to use AWS IoT, and then doubling up with, hey, this is how you run stuff on MQTT. So AWS IoT is free, okay. Maybe, yeah, like I said, I'm working with somebody else, and maybe the kind of stuff they wanted to do, they needed a paid service, but it's good to know that there is a free option, because I can definitely put it on the channel. And yeah, I hate promoting stuff, because if I make a video, yeah, I'm not getting a million views, but the people who do watch it are, it's like promoting stuff, and for the typical things that we do, I hate promoting stuff that is paid. That's why pretty much every video that I do, I show you exactly how to do it yourself. Like, there's plenty of services like ThinkSpeak for seeing your data or controlling devices across the world. There's plenty of services that do that for you. And what did I do? I went on Heroku, right, which is a free service, or Google Cloud, the free tiers, and this is exactly how you build it yourself. So that's always my mantra. And then for maker level stuff with several devices is free. Yeah, okay, that makes sense. And yeah, 1 million messages. Yeah, that should be plenty. Thanks, appreciate you letting me know. And then, okay, I'll go back to you, Dinesh. So is it worth it? I guess if you want to pursue a career, you want to have some financial security, right? Be able to provide for yourself and your family. So in that sense, it is worth it. There is plenty of companies out there that everything is going IoT, right? Everything is connected, whether it's your little scooters, whether, there's always an app for everything. And in that sense, the app needs to be connected to other stuff. And, even, things, maybe, if you think of one of the most popular apps, Uber, the cars themselves are not connected to the network just quite yet, right? But they kind of are, like, their position and blah, blah, but that's through GPS. So anyway, but we do have that concept of things being connected and accessible from a client. So there's a lot of opportunities for employment right now. It's a, up and coming field. Just if you go out here in the US, you go to a restaurant, doesn't have Wi-Fi. Just how ubiquitous Wi-Fi is, just connectivity, right? Like, you see everybody on the phone. So yes, there's a lot of that. Those are just hints and signs that this is not going anywhere anytime soon. So you have a career ahead of you, some job security, and that's a good thing. And there's a lot of demand for people to get into that, so you'll be able to find a job. So in that sense, it's worth it. You'll make a decent amount of money. On the hardware side, it's a little bit tricky to get on the hardware side because that's usually outsourced. But on the software side, then yes, you can make, a chunk of cash. And yeah, you just gotta also keep an eye out on the different trends, right? Google bought the people from Nest, I guess, and they bought a couple of hardware companies. But sometimes it doesn't work, right? They bought Boston Dynamics, and if you work for Boston Dynamics at the time, you were like, yeah, we made it. But then a year after or 2 years after, it's like, yeah, what do we do with this hardware company? It's not an IoT company, but it's a hardware company. And it's like, yeah, let's just move on. So they sort of cut bait there. So you gotta keep an eye out on the trends, and I think software is very much in demand right now. Particularly if you find a way of getting into IoT, then yeah, you'll have a job ahead of yourself for a while. And yeah, data analysis as well. Everything is big data, and yeah, that's this person I was talking about before using AWS IoT. He's come back and gotten a certificate from a program specializing in data analysis, right? And yeah, so there's there's plenty of opportunities. So in that sense, it's worth it, right? You want to have some job security, you want to make a decent amount of money, and you want to have fun. So I think a safe bet would be to tap into the software side of IoT. I don't know. Does that answer the question? Hopefully it gives a little bit of guidance. Thank you so much, Anthony. I'm glad that all of you have joined in and chimed in. I love this connection. I've been self-employed for 7 years now, and even before then I was a grad student working in a little lab in a basement, so very much isolated, and I enjoy being by myself. I couldn't work in an office with people. I guess I'm capable, but I would do everything within my power to avoid it. But I don't know why I hadn't started streaming before, because I chat with my friends and I enjoy that, and I enjoy connecting with people. I enjoy teaching. That's why I was a grad student, and learning from other people. That's why I wanted to stay in academia, right? So it's like streaming gives me an opportunity, right, to connect with people without being in an office, and it's like-minded individuals. So I get to learn from you and see, hey, what about ESP now? It's like, what about ESP now? I don't know much about ESP now. Why don't you tell me? So it's a great avenue for communicating. So I'm kind of kicking myself that this is only my second week, but I'm very much enjoying it. So I should also thank all of you for making this experience great. So yeah, but I appreciate the message, Anthony. Don't get me wrong. Alrighty. That being said, I'm gonna start getting a little organized. I'll put my workbench up, and I'll be jumping between messages and connecting stuff. That'll be my first step. And funnily enough, I hadn't thought about this, but in my last stream is the first time I tried using the Arduino IDE while streaming, and I have a pretty beefy computer. It's a MacBook Pro or whatever, but it couldn't handle it. So I might need to do some funky stuff when I get to the programming part. Like, I'll program in an external editor and just use the IDE off screen. That's what worked last time. Off screen to upload the code, and then I'll explain what I'm doing. So there'll be some technical, I wouldn't call them difficulties, but some maneuvers in the technical aspects of this stream. But if something looks weird, you want to know something, by all means, ask the question. But yeah, no, wagon loads, that's a great point on what would make a career worth it, right? That's why I asked Dinesh, okay, you need to define what worth is, because maybe our friend is really passionate about working with hardware, and that's his main thing, their main thing for having a job, pursuing a career, and telling them, how about software? And it's like, that's not really what I want to do. That wouldn't be worth it. So yeah, so I try to give an open-ended response. Hopefully that was helpful. But you're absolutely right that depends on your strengths, and more than strengths, what you enjoy, right? At least, speaking from experience, there's definitely, I'm one of those people who just take things as a challenge, but I do have to enjoy whatever I'm taking up as a challenge if I don't know it. So yeah, I don't know, I was doing computer, but it's not a great example. I did a bit of computer vision in grad school, but I always loved linear algebra, so that's why it doesn't quite apply. But then I was terrible at it because I didn't do, I did some programming in my undergrad, but didn't do like heavy computer science stuff. And he was like drinking from the proverbial fire hose when I got started with doing high level computer vision stuff. And yeah, that was challenging, but it's like, hey, every day I'm gonna, knock my head against this wall and I'm gonna figure it out. And eventually I think I did. So yeah, but I was enjoying it, and if I hadn't enjoyed it, then there's no way I could have stuck with it. But and that wasn't necessarily my strength. I don't think. Maybe I'm lying a little bit because I did love linear algebra, and that's what made everything click. But yeah, I wouldn't. At least coming in, just the computer science side wasn't a strength, but something I was very much willing to work on. So yeah. All right. Man, gotta remind myself. Let me show the screen. What the default I2C pins are on the ESP32 boards. And I always try to find this, and it's always a pain. So hopefully, I don't think I was this good, quote unquote. I've done stuff in the past with the ESP32, just because the pins are different than the ESP8266, the labeling. I think the position might be the same on the Wemos boards, but I was kind of hoping I would have left myself a note on one of the things I've done in the past to remind myself, but that is not the case. I don't know. It took me a while to find this information last time I was working on a video, so I already know. I'm sorry for there might be a blast of music. Nope. All right. So I've gone through it, and I know it was a bit painful, so I'd rather just go to one of my own videos and look it up that way. Somebody knows them off the top of their heads, let me know. No. What? Remember, just in the last video, I was pretty diligent about displaying exactly the pins on the video itself, so that's what I'm looking for. And I will, so that this is the last time I'm going through this, I will go to that script, the latest script I have. And D18 SDA, D19 SCL. Nice. Thank you. I'm gonna triple check just because I've been down this rabbit hole in the past. Let's see, I think, yeah, with the video I did on the IR. Sorry for, I'll mute it right away. Yeah. I was like really zoomed in so I could see the freaking pins. But I told myself I would just write a note on the script, which would have been the smart thing to do. But I'm not that smart. All right. So on the Wemo side, I guess, yeah, I know it's D3 and D4, and if I'm not mistaken, D4 is SCL, D3, but you know, it's just different pins on the breakout for the ESP32. Let's see. And when I say D3, D4, right, I'm full of it. D1 and D2. Alright, so I do the crisscrossing because... Alright, and Omega Killer, if it is D18 and I'm wasting everybody's time out here on D19, I will buy you a drink if I ever meet you. Buy you a drink even if if it's not right. I'm happy to do it, but just want to know. That was a good shot. Alright, hang on. We will figure this out. Now you know why it takes me 5 days to produce a video, because I'm not the most efficient person, but I do enjoy the process. Alright, so SDA is the last pin, and they were crisscross, so SDA goes to D2, and SCL goes to D1. And, alright. Is it? So SDA was the outermost one. That's going to D2. SCL was going to D1. And because I'm doing several things at a time, I'm just gonna write it down. So let's see. SCL going to D1. This is always a pain, so I'm not even convinced that I have it right, because sometimes I'll mess up on a video and you didn't hear this from me but be too lazy to fix it. I'll fix it later on a later shot, but sometimes some of the shots are not accurate. That's why I'll leave notes on the sketches usually. Let's see, Wemos D1 mini pinout. Maybe I need a Mac Pro, yeah. I will, yeah, I don't play the lottery, but if I did, I never won it, I can use a significant percentage to buy one. They're so freaking expensive. But no, one thing I'm entertaining now that I'm enjoying the streaming is having, you know, what these pro gamers do, that they'll have a streaming rig and they'll have a gaming rig. And I do have the devices where I can have the output, you know, the display output go both into the streaming machine and the monitor. I have one of those splitters, but yeah, that'll take time, and I don't know. I want to do this for maybe 6 months to a year and really make sure that I like it, to invest a little bit more. But yeah, it's under consideration. Also, so you know, the sound is weird. I hate that the sound from the mic is not very good. Probably bug my friend Dustin Watts, who is a mixing engineer, to figure out if I can do something. But I have the freaking MacBook Pro sounds like a, you know, F-16 taking off a jet. So I have this filtering thing that's built into Streamlabs, which is my streaming software. And that makes, you know, that muffling sound of the mic. The mic is out here to my left. It's a decent mic, but if you filter it so that you don't hear the background noise, then that's the effect you get. And since I have a Mac, I can't use NVIDIA came out with something crazy to do the background noise elimination, and it doesn't work on a Mac. So yeah. All right. Time for the truth. So yeah, D1 SCL, D2 SEA. And then this is, I know I'm using an ESP32, I'm not an idiot, but at least I know the positions on a protoboard, and I can use a protoboard to decipher what the heck they are. And I said it with confidence that I'm not an idiot, but I will do idiotic things, so don't hold me to my own comments. Well, I think I am out of protoboards, but I can use one of the basics. Alright, so we're looking for the equivalent of D1 and D2. Right, make sure these guys line up. And let me change the view to my workbench. We're looking at here for D1 and D2. And there we go. So half an hour later, we will know without a shadow of a doubt which pins are they. So I got D1 is 22, so pin 22, and D2 is 21. So, let's see. All right, one more time. D1 is 22. And D2 is 21. All right. So this will be the last time we have to go through this because I am jumping on GitHub. And with all of you as my witness, I will make the change. Witnesses. And this would be on my AI demos ESP32. That was latest one was for the Malexis sensor. Then edit it. It's really quick. And then what's a good spot here? All right. We know that where SEL is pin 22. Yes, GPIO 22. And I'll say that that's D1 on D1 mini. And then SDA 21 and then D2. Cool. Then obviously go to my repo here. Sure. What the heck was that? And then do a pull. Yeah, I have no idea why. Alright. And guess this computer also randomly turns on and off. So, alright. And I always forget. Alrighty. So now we can finally use our newly found information to connect some things. Switch over to my workbench and have some fun connecting stuff. Yeah. Well, alright, I'll do this one first, just because I probably need to look up for this other board. I'm not gonna be as rigorous for this one, just to see what the match between the pins are. with the one in the Wemos form factor. I don't know the labels, right? This one doesn't use D1, D2 labels, so I just need to find IO 22 and 21. All right, so I'll do, and whatever. I'll be a good citizen and turn off power. So 3v3. I think this one sensor can work with 5 volts, but I'll do 3v3. Ground is right across from it, one up. Alright, so I got 3v3 and ground. And then 22 is the third one, and 21 is the fourth one. So I want SCL on 22, which, as I said, is the third one. And our friend, making sure that this is SDA, white cable is SDA, goes to 21. Bam. So we have ourselves a sensor. Yep. Hi Sam, how are you? Having some fun out here using some ESP32s. Let me move it so it's my face is out of the way. And now I haven't used it with the ESP32 before, so let me jump. Nope, not here. Demos ESP8266. EME. Oh man. EME 680 code. Sorry, need to always forget to switch screens. Gotta get better at it. Huh. Hello from the west coast of the United States. Nice, man. Turkey. My best friend when I was going to college in the US, out here, I guess, my best friend was from Ankara, or Ankara, however you pronounce it. So very, very good friend of mine, a tennis player, Ruya Inal Pulat. Good friend of mine from Turkey as well. Man, that's surprising. Could have sworn I used the BME 680, but I guess I just probably did an example. So let's see. I'm gonna try this. I don't know if the last time I tried running the Arduino IDE on the main display, it was not happy. So we're gonna give it a try again today. So you're from Istanbul, I see. So kind of funny. I am, yeah. As someone from Argentina, I'm very passionate about soccer, and I feel that people from Turkey also take it to a next level, as Argentines do. So yeah, my friend was a Besiktas fan, and yeah, it doesn't apply to everyone, but very passionate, a little bit crazy, but that's soccer for you. All right, let's try this. If this window disappears, it means that the Arduino IDE is not happy. Yep, so it's not happy. So I'll try something else. That's interesting. Again, having a Mac is not everything that's cut out to be. I enjoy them, but the streaming software, it's a beta version. It just came out like 2 months ago, Streamlabs OBS. It works okay, but yeah. So there's something about streaming and using the Arduino IDE at the same time that makes on a Mac, right? Wouldn't have this problem on Windows. I don't own a Windows machine, so I own like 6 Macs like an idiot. But I might consider one for streaming. Alakal, nice. I should have guessed. All right. Just gonna install the BME680 library real quick. Gonna try one more thing. So maybe if I do it on my own display as opposed to an external monitor, that'll work. So if you give me a second. So change it to, yes, hang on. So I can run Streamlabs here. And then tell it to show display 0. And I think I just need to resize it. Hey Jay, how are you, man? How was the drive from all the way from Georgia to New Jersey? Glad you made it out okay, but hopefully didn't run into trouble on the road. Oh, you just got in, nice. Cool. Transform, fit to screen, there we go. Alrighty, so now I'm using this display. I don't know if it'll make it happy, but we're going to try. I'm gonna open up. This will be the true test, just opening up the library manager. I don't know what shared resources do the Streamlabs application and the Arduino IDE have. I know the Arduino IDE is written heavily in Java. But yeah, something about having the Arduino IDE running on an external monitor while streaming, while capturing that display from the external monitor, that make things complicated. Alrighty, I think we're in business. Famous last words. Get ready for this to crash and burn. And is there one? I think all of them will work. And yeah. Oh man, bon appetit. Thank you for popping in and saying hello, Jay. And go and wish your mom a happy Mother's Day. And same for all of you who celebrated today in Argentina. It's in October, so I don't celebrate it. But happy Mother's Day, and particularly you, Jay, who actually get to see her right now. Enjoy some good food, man. Yeah. You guys too. And all right, give it a test, see if we didn't fudge up any of the connections. After spending half an hour looking for the damn pins. And yeah, now I can, my little compromise for last time was putting it on to use an external editor and just using the IDE to compile stuff. So now I can turn that off. And let's see. All right. I square C, you don't define any pins, right? Nope. Then 115, 200, then test. All right. This one, damn it. This is on the Wemos. Yeah. 32, my port. I think it's that. Why did I have a... I think that's the only board I have connected. I'm just surprised I see this one. And actually... Yeah, the the D1 minis are on a different USB to serial UART, but this guy's used this Silicon Labs, the CP2102, so it should be that one. All right, here goes nothing. Fingers crossed. Come on. Oh yeah, I'm not a big fan of this dependency, but it is what it is. Beggars can be choosers. So sometimes I'll just avoid using their sensor libraries, so I don't have to install two libraries for using a single sensor, but if it works, it works. Hey, Sergey. Yeah, no, it is a great one, and now it's actually accessible. When it first came out, to get one of those breakout boards, it was like $30. It's come down in price significantly because it's a BME, right? So it can do the environmental stuff. So it'll give you temperature, humidity, barometric pressure, like the BME 280. But in addition to that, it gives you gas measurements, like VOCs, volatile organic compounds. So you can measure things like carbon monoxide and stuff like that. And it's a tiny sensor, and now you can get it for like $15. So I love the BME 680, big fan. So unified sensor library. Can never find it easily either. Pisses me off. Once again, grateful that these libraries exist. Maybe they've renamed it. Ah, no, there it is. Bam. Nope. Let me see, wagon loads. You had trouble on Pi connecting directly to an ESP3266 with the CP or the CH30 with both of them? That's kind of interesting because I know the 340G can be a little tricky, right? That's, known, and if you look at my initial videos, yeah, every comment is like, yeah, I get this error, like, it's like, oh, that's serial communication, you need to install different drivers. But the CP, everything by Silicon Labs, it's like, there's a third company that will remain nameless because there are those who will not be named that are just complete a-holes because, yeah, they were breaking devices if the chips were counterfeit or they thought they were counterfeit. And, yeah. Anyway, so I love Silicon Labs. Woohoo! I'll give them a shout out. And their devices just work. The CB2102 usually works. But yeah, I've tried it in the Pi just very few times. That's why you don't need to install drivers or anything. So it's kind of interesting. And then with the USB hub, I see when it was directly to the Pi, then it didn't work. But with a USB hub, it did. That's kind of interesting. And you always have the option. I haven't tried this, so I don't know how viable it is. But you do have a serial UART port out of the Pi. So I'm pretty sure if I look it up, right, that you can use that to tap into the serial UART of at least an Arduino Uno. I don't know about the ESP family of chips. I'm sure it's the same way, right? Because the CP or the CH340G, they just translate from USB to serial UART. So they, the chips themselves, the ESP chips, need to have a bootloader. So, a bootloader that understands those serial UART messages. So if you tap into those, then should be able to program them. Nice, yeah. They shall remain nameless. Little FS. I have no idea, Sergey, what Little FS is, and that's part of this live streams. I do this for a living, so I have become aware of a lot of things, even if I haven't used them myself. But there's some other things that it's like, no, I need you all to fill me in. So I'll do a little search in addition to, see, gotta Little FS. Nah, and actually, if it's what I pulled up here, then my working with ARM chips in general is pretty low. So my knowledge of using ARM chips, it's low because there were back in the day when I wasn't as pretty much dedicated to everything ESP32, everything ESP8266. ARM chips weren't all that popular, so it would take a lot of time and effort to work in an environment where you can just compile simple code, find the libraries, and make them run without spending 2 months to talk to a BME 680. So, but that landscape has changed quite a bit, right? I'm talking about, when the most capable chips were Cortex M4s and things like that. But that landscape has changed, so I do need to put that on my to-do list. Oh, thank you for chiming in, Sean. Sion. I always try to remind myself. Lightweight file system. And yeah, talk about having an expert on board on ARM-related stuff. I'm glad to have you around. So MicroPython uses it for just as a, well, the file system that MicroPython runs on, and if I drag and drop a file onto flash memory, whatever file system I find is little fs. I did not know that. I see. I'd be interested in trying it just to see what it offers. So for the ESP3266, Sergey, what's the advantage of using? I guess you have more file system operations rather than the typical things that you would do through just the SPI FFS or whatever. Like, is it easier to whatever copy files or maintain directories? And I don't even know what would be the advantages. I know if you're running something a little bit more complex, that you need a more efficient way of navigating your file system. I can see the advantages there. And when I say something a little more complex, it's something like a MicroPython, where you actually need a file system. But I'm wondering if you just need flash storage, then what advantages does little fs have over just whatever raw file system you can use? Yeah. So it used to be fat. Yeah, that is pretty slow. I see. So it's a file system as we all know and love it, but as intuition suggests, it's lightweight, it's fast, and it allows you to do operations that you would in another file system just efficiently for having this relatively low computational power devices. Cool. I will have to look into that. Gonna move some stuff around here, get a little bit more organized. All right. Cool. So unsurprisingly, it compiles. Let's try uploading. I'm just glad that the freaking Arduino IDE is able to stay up, and I'm able to show it to you. Oh, no worries. Thank you for stopping by, Sam. Yeah, no, just appreciative. I'll be streaming pretty much now that things are opening up, right? But it was a good thing to pick up on during having a little bit of extra time in my hands in the past month. So I plan on continuing doing it. So if you enjoy it, by all means, you're more than invited, more than welcome to come back. So thank you. And yeah, wagon loads, I don't see a reason why you cannot, right? So you just need to figure out how you cannot handle cookie data on the ESP3266. Again, as I was saying before, as long as the size of the file or the data itself is not humongous, then yeah, it's just text right at the end of the day. Yeah, you can. That's what I wasn't clear. Sorry, but you can, if it's less than, I think, what is it, 4 kilobytes, you can store it on EEPROM. If it's larger than that, you can just store it on the flash file system, which we're talking about on the SPI FFS. So you can store it and you can use it as you need. All right. Let me check. Got distracted. All right, so we have data coming in, and let's see. Open a new. Trying to figure out what did I do with. There we go. My browser. It's here. And then I'm just going to go to an old repo. Right, so I've done this demo for the ESP3266, and I saw a few requests, or a couple of requests for doing it for the ESP32. And yeah, now I need to, be lazy and just port over the code. But I gotta figure out where it is. Should be something like communication. Maybe I put it on my tips repo. So yeah, this is communication between an ESP3266 and an Arduino that a few of you have asked about, and should be something called like two-board communication. No, all right, as usual. Oh man. I wish I had better memory, to be honest, but it is what it is. See. Okay, do this off screen. Videos. And then communication. Arduino to ESP3266. Send data between two boards. Here it is. And the link to the code, Simple Server Client is called. And I do have it in the tips repository. All right. So I'm gonna do things a little differently for this one. I don't think I use WebSockets for this example. I will use WebSockets, and I will not call it server and client just to try to, you know, suggest that you can use it both ways. But this will not be a good example, right? Because I don't have any data that I want to send to the board with the sensor. Maybe, you know what, I will do it. I will. It is a little bit silly just for the sake of demonstration. I'm gonna send all the data from the board connected to the sensor to the other board that will be connected to an OLED screen, and the data will be displayed there. And I'll do some, you know, evaluation of the data on that board. And let's say there's no reason why you should do it on that board. That's why it's a little bit, you know, it's not a great example. But I'll evaluate the data and say if the temperature is above this, send back a message. And in that message, once it's received by the other board, it'll turn on just the built-in LED on the board. So let's do that. And that way people understand, because I got a few of those questions for the last message. Hey, what? Because I called one server, the other one client, and it was different implementations. But this will give me an opportunity to explain how you can run both a server and a client on the same board. So yeah. Let's do it. All right. And then here, on the server, trying to remind myself whether it was on the server or the client. Probably on the client that I had the sensor connected to. Maybe. Yep. So the client got data, use the client to send it data to the server. And I was doing some funky stuff on the server, that's why I got a little confused. Yeah. So I was updating. Index string. Yeah, I see. That's just, yeah, got confused. That's just displaying it on a page. Cool. All right. So we're working on the client side of things. And obviously we're gonna have to get this working with the ESP32. So I'll need to make a few changes. Not too bad. Leave that guy open. Open a new sketch. And I'll change the name later, but for now, just, again, I know I'm multitasking, I'm bound to get confused. I'll call it client. Let me see. So what about PSRAM on the ESP32? Like how to use it, or just additional RAM, right? Hey Pete, how you doing? You like the idea of not using server and client? Yeah, I'll just leave it temporarily. So that it's just board 1, board 2, and do it in a... The code might be a little different, just so I can show how to do things using the web server library as opposed to the Wi-Fi client library. So, but, you know, I'll just put on the description at the top what the intent is. So yeah. And mainly, Pete, because I got a bunch of comments on the original video about how to, you know, do more things or how to talk to a third board. So that'll be the next video, like how to build up from that. And I realize it might seem simple, but if you're, for people just getting started or who are not as familiar, it's not simple to take it in a different direction. So I want to make it as general as possible. On the video I keep referring to somewhere here, it'll be on the, is this an IoT? Yeah, it is an IoT project, but no, I just want to list the videos. I want to play them. I'm sorry, I'm blasting this audio. Is there a way of making a list? I don't want to see all the thumbnails, but anyway. So between, says this one, it's send data between 2 boards, client/server. I figured that's what people would be looking for, but yeah, if you're interested in the ESP3266 version, that's a that's an old school video. March 25th. All right, hopefully it's not terrible. Let me see. 128 by 64 OLED have RAM you can save data in. Not that I know of. You can look up the driver chip. It's called SSD1306. But I haven't seen any library where you can store some additional data in memory. You can always, if you need to store gobs of data, your best bet is on the board itself. You know, the ESP32 board or the ESP8266 board that you're using, you can always install bigger, max out your external flash memory, which will be given by an external chip. And then P. That was OF. No worries. And to store cookies and do some minor web scraping. PSRAM for minor web scraping. For storing cookies, you can do it in PSRAM, and you're a little bit limited in terms of size of memory. You always have, you know, flash as well. So yeah, storing the cookie is not such a big deal. The web scraping is where is that, and yeah, I mean, it's additional storage for, you know, stuff that is volatile that you just need to have in RAM. So you can give it a try. But like I was saying before, I've run into trouble even just dealing with APIs, right? Not doing any scraping, but dealing with APIs when the size is too big for the JSON messages, JSON formatted messages that typically APIs will spit back at you after a request. Then, you know, why is this message, even though I have the, you know, array size, the correct memory, why is it being truncated? It doesn't get recognized as JSON formatted data. And yeah, it's always something odd about running out of memory. Remember that even though, say, your RAM might be 4 kilobytes a chunk of that is already being used by, the fact if you're using, particularly if you're using Arduino, right, a chunk of resources are being used right off the bat. So don't let me dissuade you, right? I'm talking from inference. I've never tried to scrape data myself using this chips, and the caveats I'm throwing is based on my experience with handling chunks of data from the web. But in my case was dealing with APIs. So yeah, never want to tell someone, no, don't do that. Even if I had done it and I knew, it was whatever, there were obstacles, I'd say, okay, go for it, but this is what you might find. And yeah, this is the chip for the 128 by 64, the OLED screen drivers. You can look into it and see if somebody has figured it out, but I don't think it has any RAM, unfortunately. All right. So we need to bump up this piece of code to work on an ESP32. May 10th. File to be named TBN, and you can just use Wi-Fi, and then this will be humidity. Maybe the temperature first. Right. Three, 4. Call this gas. Call this and altitude or pressure, it doesn't matter. And then I'll do humidity. I use temperature. All right. People, don't hack my password. Be good. Right. Leave that, like that for now. Temperature. All right. Client can connect to host, and this is what I'll be changing a little bit. Just the connection I'm gonna handle through WebSockets, and that's why I didn't want to call the file client or server, because it'll be just two words communicating bidirectionally. But for now, that'll stay. Want to make sure my code runs at the end of the day. But little by little, I'll be changing. Then temperature. And what was the other sensor I had? Oh, I guess for the conversion I had volts, Alrighty. ESP32. I'm gonna comment this out. Got a typo here. All right. Let's see. What crashes and burns? So my friend Wagon Loads, the difference between using angle brackets and quotes is that when you use, let me see if I can explain it in a way that makes sense. When you use quotes, typically the file lives in the same directory as your main file, like your sketch, the main sketch, if you're using Arduino, the .eno file lives in the same directory as your file.h. That's why you use quotes to indicate that it's right here, it's in this repository. And you use angle brackets when it's in the path or whatever the Arduino IDE installs the core libraries, and say, not the core libraries, that'll be in a different place, usually in program files if you're on a Windows system. But then if you go into your documents / backslash, again for a Windows system, Arduino /libraries, if it's there, if your logins.h or your file.h is there, presumably in a directory, right, that'll be, it's not a bunch of files that you find inside that library subdirectory. It's a library folder with a certain structure that, and I can just show it on screen instead of waving my hand. But anyway, if it's there, you use angle brackets. If it's in the same directory where your sketch is running, then it'll be with quotes. You can use quotes if it's, you can use quotes for both scenarios. You can only use angle brackets when, at least last time I checked, and that's how the language, the C++ language that I learned was specified, but things have changed since then. But anyway, so if it's here, like if you look at my screen, right, if it's in the Arduino, this is my documents, Arduino libraries, if it's here, then I can use either angle brackets or double quotes. If, let's say I'm working the sketch that I have open on screen, it's here, right, it's in my desktop. If I had a library here, by this client.eno, if come on, I'm trying to copy this file, I'm failing at it. But just for the sake of an example, if I had a file.h right there, then I can only include it in my .eno file with double quotes. Hopefully that makes sense. Yeah, exactly. And the Arduino IDE will display it in tabs. How do you check, Sergey, if a parameter is sent in a GET request? What do you mean? Right, because if you're doing a request, right, you're building it yourself, so whether the parameter is included or not is entirely up to you, right? That GET request is usually a long string, but maybe I'm just not understanding I guess if you're running a server and you're receiving a request, if there is a parameter included, usually there is a method called args, A-R-G-S, to check, if things were included in the, in the URL, right? So if that's what you mean, then yeah, it's like server.args will return a I don't, some sort of data type, I think an array, and with all the different parameters that you receive, you know, if you're talking about receiving a request, then yeah. And you know, it could be a get request, it could be post, it could be delete, it could be anything, right? It's just how you can, well, okay, the, you know, get or post. It's up to you what method you're listening to on your server. All right. So, surprisingly enough, it compiled. Just, you know, every time you gotta switch something from ESP82 to 66 to ESP32, it might not be everything you had hoped for when it comes time to compile it. But just gonna copy the code over so that instead of just sending a 0, we're sending actual data. And then, yeah, I did just for the streaming, I did a change in my setup. So I think in the process, I lost, hopefully I think I have space. Since I switched to a MacBook don't have regular USB ports, so I lost a bunch of ports and I have a bunch of adapters connected to different things, and yeah, so I made a mess of my original setup. And long story short, I don't have right now a second USB cable to open a second instance of the Arduino IDE to program the other board, so I need to work on that, and I'll do it. You'll have to bear with me while I stand up and get another setup for connecting a second board. But let's still work on this one. Yeah. I think I never know like when this, including the I2C and SPI libraries, is actually needed. Arduino keeps changing back and forth, and it depends, yeah, on a bunch of things if you need to call the wire.begin method here or outside. But this is a good example. This, for including this last library here, right? They're using double quotes, but they should, in my opinion, really be using angle brackets to indicate that, you know, because that file is never going to live side by side on a separate tab, as you said, but that just means that it's in the same directory. Because you can create the file externally. Like I can drag that file, you know, bme680.h to the same directory, and next time I reopen the IDE, it'll be seen as a tab, but I can create it externally. I don't have to create it through the tab system of the Arduino IDE. Right, so check it one more time, see if me taking out the wire.h I2C library didn't mess things up. And yeah, gotta remember a whole bunch of things during stream. One of them being making sure I mix up the music a little bit so you're not stuck with what it's been probably 2 hours of the same 17 songs, which is not bad. But here's a little bit of piano. Gotta make sure that levels are good. All right, a little bit of classical music. And am I using, if my, oh, I guess, yeah, I'm reading it on my Streamlabs, the messages, and they get cut off. So just a little turnaround, since for running the Arduino IDE, I had to just rearrange the screen. So now I have my stream controls here, and what I had here went to what I was displaying before. All right, so now I can finally read your entire messages. If def, no, just because I intend for this to run just in the ESP32. I would use an if def if I wanted it. For example, I could use it for different purposes, but if I wanted it to run on ESP8266 and I had to include the ESP8266 Wi-Fi for ESP8266 or blah blah, you have some constants that are defined based on the board you have selected, and they will include different. Using those constants, you can tell it what libraries to use, but this is just gonna be for ESP32s. So yeah, no if def. I did make a video on how to use if defs for exactly dealing with that, how to use some libraries for ESP8266, ESP32. So if I see a question, it's like, hey, how can I run this on an ESP8266, or how can I run it in both? Then I'll refer them to that video. But yeah, very, very good question. All right, did I ever upload this? Just recompiling. I think I keep getting distracted and just hitting compile. I guess I was checking to see if erasing the wire.h worked, and it did. All right. I2C. Yes, doing some setup. Oh, I see. That's why I was doing everything on the setup function, because I'm doing deep sleep. All right. Yeah, I'll keep that the same. But this guy, yeah. Obviously this piece of code will not run until I program the server. What is gonna be, I guess it'll be a server in that sense, since I'm gonna use software. I'm gonna program it as a software access point. Should I do that? If I really want to make bidirectional communication, I can always refer people to, hey, this is how you would do it with a software access point. But I think I'm just gonna do it just regular, use the router. Not gonna set anything on. I might regret this, so I'm just gonna comment it out. I guess, yeah, otherwise I would have to use, MDNS, right, to know where I am sending the data. So I guess there is an advantage. No, I'm lying. Not using it as a soft AP. Let's see. And this is what happens when you write code and don't touch it for about a year. So yeah, that's fine. Interesting. Oh, we'll figure it out. I'll just leave it there for now. That's just right here where I connect. When I see the server code, I'll remind myself. Hey Pete, thank you so much for stopping by. Yeah, I do hope that it goes well as well. Have a good one. Gotta make sure that it's the same data type. Again, this is all like boilerplate stuff. It'll get organized a little after, but for now, I just want to put all the pieces in place, and it's not the most organized way, but it works. All right. So, damn it. No, I don't want to say that. No. All right. What data type are you returning? And then so just a float. Cool. Yep, we good. I wonder, I don't think there are any changes between ESP32 and ESP8266 deep sleep code, but never hurts to check. Yeah, there is. Oh man. Let's see. Got our sister-in-law living with us. She's helping us out with chores and doing some vacuuming right now. So just wondering how that's a little bit annoying on stream. Not too bad, I don't think. Not any more annoying than me opening and closing really harshly the little container for my headphones. All right. I don't know. When in doubt, yes. Just want something simple. And I don't see why this wouldn't work, but yeah, all right, that'll work. And while that uploads, I'll set up the second board. This is my little note. Reset it. All right. So the trick on Mac is just to use open, yeah, new instance of applications, Arduino, right? So just this, yep. And that'll be a separate instance, and I can have two boards connected at once, which is super useful. Obviously, you know, I could do it in a different way and use the command line, the actual commands that are run by the IDE, but find this more helpful for more people. Trick is gonna be figuring out which board is which. I'm going to go for UART3 since I just connected it. And then for that one, let me switch things to my workbench. We're gonna do a few more connections. Wasn't in studio mode. Interesting. Yeah, time for connecting an OLED. Once again, I need to do a little digging, see what pins are involved in the I2C communication of this board. But we know from before that we're looking for IO 22 and 21. So I want to refer to, I don't even know what this board is called. I'm going to just call it non-MCU pinout. Yep. Oh man, I used to make this pinouts, but I stopped after like 4 versions of ESP32 boards. So there we go. Thank you, kind eBay seller. So we have 22 here and 21 on the other side. So 22, so it'll be ground, 23, 22. Okay. Alright, so now I'm connecting this one. I need to find myself some jumper wires, male to male. The back little bag. Alright. So for this one, we want to use 5 volts. 5 volts. Ground. All right. This is not my board, obviously, is it? No. Oh, it is. Sorry, I'm looking at it backwards. So. 3.3 and VN. Yeah, it's not my board. I mean, it doesn't have the same pinout, which is surprising. But what's interesting is, yeah, I think that the pins might match the labels, meaning, you know, if I see a label that says D23, it's IO23. So whatever, I'll give that a try. It's not gonna harm anything. So I'll do D22 on the board. Let me see. It's gonna be a pain. This is too chunky. What to do? Oh man. I convinced myself that it was thin enough, but it is not. So we're gonna have to do this annoying thing of jumping it over 2 breadboards. Fun stuff. See, if it looks good. I mean, in theory, it's the same measurements, right? But it always screws up this like this. So maybe for my final version, I'll have the sensor connected to this board and the OLED just on top of the Wimo's form factor board, but we'll see. So ground, the in, we got D21, D22 SDA. D21 or pin 20. Come on, man. So SDA and I got SCL at 22. Yeah. This guy. SCL. So, alright, I got SDA to 21 and 22 to SCL. Alright. Let's see. Let's turn on some screens. Hopefully. Oh, that's a good idea. Wagon loads. I hadn't thought about it. I'll try to make it look nice for the final one, but if I remove one of the bus strips, yeah. How is it? Yeah, I like, if you leave them both, right, it has a nice latching connection. But no, you're right. I'd rather for it to look a little more neat than, I don't want to show a video and then the breadboards are kind of like, clinging for dear life and look like they're suffering. So yeah, I'll do that. Thank you for the tip. Let's see, Jay, welcome back. That's an ESP32, not the newest one, not the S2s, the fancy ones that people like our friend Sion get to play with. But just old school, ESP32, old school, I guess it's been a few years since they came out. ESP32s. One is on a Wimo's form factor board, and the other one using the regular Node MCU form factor board. Yeah. Gonna test it out with an OLED screen. So let's go back to main. Yeah. This will be an adventure because I don't think I've connected an OLED screen to an ESP32 before. I've done very little with the ESP32, to be honest. Obviously that's changed. I did do something with it. What a silly person. For the little digital thermometer. Although that was with the one, it's a different screen. I guess they use the same driver chip. But yeah, I use this UAG2 library. So we need to find a class that works. Alright, screw it. Let's do it. Let's give it a try. Alright, so this is my one instance. Another instance. Alright. Give me 680, you can go away. Open up our library manager. think I should have UAG too, since that video is somewhat recent, but hey Jay, no worries. I'm using a BME 680, temperature, humidity, gas, and barometric pressure. Gas as in volatile organic compounds, VOCs. So yeah, just handy. I just added handy on I2C, so only 4 cables, and I know it works. I've used it pretty regularly, so I just wanted something to gather some data that I can manipulate. I know I just put my finger on top of the sensor and we'll see the temperature change. U8G2. Yep, I got it. Got it. Here's one. Okay. Page buffer. Hello world. Now, I love this library, but it works with every OLED screen known to mankind or to humankind. Man, check this out. So I gotta find the one that works for me. Like 200 lines. But it's easy enough. I'll go by resolution and the fact that I want to use I2C. And obviously, first should be the chip, which is SSD 1306. And yeah. Alright, so at the very top, I guess that's the most popular chip. I should have guessed. Alright, this one is a strong candidate. Make sure that one is not enabled by default. Alright, without further ado, make sure it compiles and try to upload it. Let's see. You have a bunch of the 280s, but yeah, no, the 680s we're talking about, how they're not super new, but relatively new, maybe 2 years. And yeah, no, they're fantastic, but they were super expensive. They were like $30 when they first came out to get a breakout board, and it's come down quite a bit, thankfully. So now they're still like 15, depending where you buy them. But all between 10 and 15. But they can do a lot, right? And before you could get the BMPs for cheaper, right? The ones that did not include the pressure. And you have one that was just temperature, humidity, and I think the BME, right, the environmental one, I guess it was temperature and pressure, and then the BME included temperature, humidity, and pressure, if I recall correctly. Same, there is no BMP 680, it's just they went straight to BME. I'm gonna, always paranoid about saying something outrageous on stream, but when I was looking into them a few years ago, yeah, I don't think there's a BMP equivalent. And even for the BME 680, yeah, there isn't. BMP 680, BMP 280, I think it went out of production. They just stuck with the BME. Maybe, don't quote me on that last part. Oh, you found it, Sergey. Glad I was able to point you in the right direction. So yeah, and even if you just use args, I have a few examples, but if you just use the method args, it gives you has args. I would imagine that it's just telling you if it does or it doesn't, and maybe that's what you wanted. But if you use args, then that gives you all the parameters that were passed with their request. So, but I'm glad you found it. And then for you, Jay, yeah, man, I'm happy. Sometimes, as I mentioned, might take me a little while, a couple of days, but happy to chat and respond. And you can again have the options of email or the Discord server. So by all means, hopefully I can be helpful. All right, so this compiles. I think I have the correct board connected, and I won't switch screens just yet. But I verify that it's actually working, because I probably need to come back onto the IDE and maybe change some things around. Let's see. Yeah, I guess I haven't tried this lately, so maybe with the latest version this is not possible. Meaning what I'm doing is running 2 instances of the Arduino IDE, and I think this one is not happy with trying to program the board. Device not configured. Let's see if I didn't mess anything up on here. I'm just gonna try to re-upload to the original board, see if that works, then try to upload this code to the new board, see if that works, and that will tell me if it's the board or the Arduino IDE instance. I mean, simple solution, right? Just close one instance or just change ports. Just annoying to change ports back and forth depending on which board you want to program. So I used to do it with 2 separate Arduino instances, but it seems that that's not gonna work. But hang on. Kind of funny, got listed as 4 here and as 3 on the other, so that might be related to a problem. So if I upload the same code to the other board, the one that's connected to the OLED, not the one that we started with, then we'll see. Yep, that works. So it's something about opening a second instance, and I see that the devices are listed differently. So right, this one got enumerated as 3, and now that it's being programmed by the other instance, it just disappeared. So anyway, I don't know, just try one more time for good measure. If not, we'll just close this instance and hop on the other one. Have to switch ports back and forth, but it is what it is. Haha! It still works. Yay! And I'm happy to report that if I showed you my workbench, then I get hello world and an OLED screen, which is not terribly exciting, but it kind of works. So for the most part, I have all the pieces in place, and I have the client code that I use for the ESP3266 running on this board right here, the Windows Form Factor one, and it's successfully reading data from the BME 680, which looks like this, and it's not turned around. So that side is somewhat done. I still need to update the code to use WebSockets for the bidirectional communication. But all in all, pretty good. I need to, just upload the server code to here and do a few changes. But I think I'm gonna leave it at this since it's a bit of a high note. I have all the pieces for my next video, and I will be shooting that tomorrow. I don't know if I'll do a stream before then, but you can, the code will be there. For those of you who've hung out, or you can go back and watch the stream. I describe what the plan is, and to summarize it is bidirectional communication between the two boards. That's something that's been requested on the channel, and people always have questions. Okay, I have a client, I have a server. How do I send data from the server back to the client or whatever? So I want to eliminate that terminology and just use, hey, this is a video on bidirectional communication between two boards over Wi-Fi. It'll be for ESP32, but as you all have seen on some of my videos, it's straightforward to change it to an ESP3266 if you so wish. So that's the plan, and the video, I'll shoot tomorrow and edit. I'll probably do the voiceover on Tuesday, and it'll be released sometime on Tuesday. I'm entertaining the idea of doing a premiere one of these days where, hey, the video will come out on Thursday at noon Pacific time. If you're available, let's watch it together. And that way we can all sit here like on a live stream and watch the release of one of my videos. It's a little bit pompous or pretentious for my taste, but it'd also be kind of fun, to just have some of you on chat either saying, hey, this part sucked, or this wasn't clear, or just having feedback in real time. So at some point I'll entertain that. But for now, you can expect the next video to drop on Tuesday. And as soon as it drops, I'll pop on stream. And I think the next thing will be to go back to the machine learning stuff I was doing with the Raspberry Pi. ESP32 or Raspberry Pi, but it'll be in the context of machine learning. So yeah, I want to thank you all for sticking around, and hope that you have a great rest of your Sunday. I know some of you are already on Monday. So yeah, hope for a wonderful week, and really want to thank you for stopping by the stream. So yeah, let me read a couple of comments. The first time you displayed a Hello World Omega, you ran around the house. Yeah. Man, I can't believe it. Just the way you express yourself on chat. I would have guessed that you've been doing this for a number of years, and I know you've mentioned that you're just a mining engineer, but the way, again, from the comments inferring that, I would have inferred you've been doing this for at least 10. So, but yeah, not quite. I've been doing this for 14, 15, just the Arduino stuff. I've been, glued to a computer screen for a little bit longer. But yeah, so even till this day, right, like having Hello World and the fact that I'm doing it live and things are more or less working that we wanted to accomplish, I won't run around the house, but definitely puts a smile in my face. And I do enjoy just like tinkering with stuff. So even if it's not working, I enjoy the process, but it's good, when things work as expected. And it's not that I did anything terribly complicated either, but all in all, it does bring a smile to my face. And then, can I list the stream schedule on Facebook? I can. I think my preferred avenues are the Discord server, number one, and number two, on Twitter. The reason is, if you follow me on Facebook, I don't use Facebook just for my personal use. I don't want to be one of those people bashing on whatever. It changed, right? It used to be this thing that only if you're affiliated with a college, and and it was a great way of connecting back with people. like whatever, 15 years later, 2020, you log in and it's a bunch of memes and like just pages. Like if you follow a page, that'll be the preferred content, and then if it's video versus images, and then, anyway, so it just became a completely different medium that I didn't enjoy. So say if I follow Sports Bible and some of the soccer funny videos, whatever, like I would enjoy, but it wasn't enough. So haven't quite deleted Facebook, but don't use it personally. But for business, I do. And because my experience was that of seeing memes, blah, blah, that seemed to be what Facebook was about, I started just posting memes on my Facebook page. So I'll, switch this over to my main screen and show you transition so I can it's just, yeah, since I've been just posting memes on Facebook, I don't know what kind of audience I have there. I know on Twitter, I don't necessarily keep it professional, but it's mostly because I'll curse and I'll express what I'm feeling at whatever point in time. But it's related for the most part to electronics and programming, and I know my audience there. I just, when I go on Reddit, I see a funny meme, I'll share it with the community I have going on Facebook, so you can see that this is what's about. And the idea is, from time to time, I'll plug a video in there. They don't do terribly well. Like the memes, they'll get 90 likes or 90 engagements. And if I post a video about what I'm doing, it's like low. But yes, with a bit of hesitation, I can do Facebook. But yeah, Sergey, thanks for stopping by. Sorry if we're like rambling here and chatting about nonsensical stuff, but I appreciate your feedback. Glad you were able to find some information useful. At least, our discussion for the arguments, the parameters on a GET request. Yeah, I think I enjoy entertaining the idea, Omega Killer, of doing a premiere. That can be fun. Same to you, Wagon Loads. If you wanna, again, either on Discord or on you can shoot me an email with your code. That'd be great. As I told Jay, DIY in the ghetto before. It might take me a couple of days. Luckily, I just started streaming and I have a little bit of time available. For those of you here, I can imagine, on the channel itself, right, with over 20,000 subscribers, I don't know how much of that I believe. Probably a bunch of bots as well, bots, BOTS. But it might get a little bit more crowded, right? But now that I have the time and it's only a few people, I'm happy to just go over your code, right? If it becomes like 20 people, I might not invite 20 people to email me their code just because I don't have time, right? I need to make videos and sell the electronics so that I can jump on LiveStream and have my fun and tinker around. So I do gotta keep an eye out on the business side. But until then, happy to look over code while I have the time. And for you, Omega Killer, for 10 years. And yeah, so I do get a sense that the knowledge, at least not necessarily specific to electronics, but just the overall knowledge extends further back than 3 to 4 years. That's why I was a little surprised. So that's more in line with what I had in mind, even that you're telling me mainly on Android, iOS, and PC development. Yeah. So same, a bit of a similar pathway for me. I did just software stuff and then some web design, web development, web technologies in the mid 2000s for earning extra cash while I was in college. And then I jumped to the hardware side just as Arduino was coming out. I think my first board was a basic stamp by a company called Parallax. And I've always been interested in robotics. I didn't go to a really good school for undergrad, So I kind of missed out on that experience. I had to build my own experience, my own exposure to robotics, and I would keep searching online for ways to do it, and this is what got me into hardware. And as soon as I got this, around the time I got this, Arduino started to come out, and that's when I was like, huh, Arduino, what's that? It's an easy way to do electronics. Oh, let me look at that. So yeah, I share, even though it's a little bit further back, I share that same path from migrating from pure software to a little software and hardware. But yeah, alrighty then. Crazy person of staying up till 4 a.m. I guess I sometimes will make it easier on you when I do my streams at 3 a.m. would be, I guess, in the afternoon for you. So, but this time around, I guess I did it in the afternoon time for me. So we switch roles. Have I seen the Balbot? I would imagine I've seen a Balbot, if that's the balancing robot. I built a couple. I want to build one so bad for the channel, but that's a little more involved and explaining, PID, if that's what you're talking about. But if it's that would be Balbot with a single L. Balancing robot. It's just two wheels and the mathematical problem of an inverted pendulum, how to balance that out, which is a lot of fun. I've played with that, but I haven't seen Balbot. I will see you I'm sure I'll see you on the next stream. Omega Killer, you take care. And yeah, there is a blue one. Nice. I mean, I wanted to combine a little 3D printing with some of the kits that I have on the shop, on my online shop. But if there is a kit, I might be tempted. That probably make my life a little bit easier. But I don't know, with steppers, and then try it with. Yeah, no, I've seen a few, and maybe even the one you're talking about. But yeah, that would be so much fun, like building something like this guy. But yeah. At the very least, just I'll do a miniature version. I know probably this is not the one you're talking about. That seems to use more than just 3 stepper motors. But yeah. Oh man, I love me some robots. It's in my page. Really? Is it like a blog entry or something like that? Like acrobatic. Hey Hassan, how you doing? How can you use a Max 7219 Unicode font? I see. For a Max 7219, the best library that I've seen for writing to displays is the one I was just using. So UAG2, and yeah. I don't know if it works. I think it should work with a 7219. It supports a whole bunch of displays, and I'm sure it's one of them. But yeah, I'm pulling it up on screen. So UAG2, and the list of fonts, it's the ones that are already included. It's very, very vast, and you can add new fonts. You can make your own fonts, and it's not difficult to add it to the library. It's involved. I won't say that it's easy. It's involved, but you can even add your own fonts. But if you go on, I think they probably have a wiki. And yeah, so if you look at font groups, you have a whole freaking bunch. And then Unicode, yep. So I think by default it has some Unicode stuff. does that, hopefully that helps. So blue bowling ball with clear plexiglass on the third line of my search. Maybe, I don't think it's that one. Hang on, we will get it. Oh, this one, okay. Cool. That looks, you know, not as involved as the other one. I love this omnidirectional wheels as well. Oh man. If I, again, I don't play the lottery, but if I would still do this. I would just build random stuff, but wouldn't have the pressure of putting up 2 videos or whatever the math is, 1.5 videos per week, which is what I try to do, again, to keep an eye out on the business side. I would just dedicate myself to building, first, more complex projects, and second, without like that crunch of time. It's like, oh, I'm taking too much time on this project, I need to get something out. But yeah, this would be a fantastic project to pursue. And eventually I'm an eternal optimist. When I get more time, I will work on, you know, different types of projects. So that's awesome. I actually had not seen this one. Wow, okay. I mean, those are some interesting dynamics as well, right? Like knowing what wheel to rotate, blah blah. That is pretty cool. Awesome. But yeah. Oh, no worries. Glad. Hopefully that's useful, Hassan. But yeah, that library is amazing, and it definitely has Unicode. The only question now is whether it supports that particular screen, and I don't have any reason to believe why it wouldn't. But yeah. Alrighty, folks, it's been real. Thank you all so very much for sticking around, and I will see you hopefully on the next stream. And again, before I go, I'll just paste a link on the chat to where to find me. Lately, I've been, hanging out with a bunch of you on a Discord server that, again, with your feedback, we decided was a good way of staying in touch, sharing projects. So let me paste that link on the stream. Feel free to join, and it's free. I'm not trying to sell you on anything. It's just to continue these conversations and chat. We can do it there. I plan on streaming somewhat regularly too, but if you can't find me and have a pressing question, maybe you can find me on there, or even other community members that can chime in. So thank you so much, and I will see you on the next one.